Lesson 8.1, Solving Equations by Factoring. You should have learned the zero product property can be used to solve quadratic equations in factored form. Let's look at example 1. We have x squared minus 8x equals negative 12. We're going to solve the equation by factoring. In order to factor, you first need to write your equation in standard form. Therefore, we will need to add 12 to both sides to write the equation x squared minus 8x plus 12 set equal to 0. Now factor the trinomial. Take your a, which is 1, times your c is 12. A times c is 12. That is your product number. Your b value is your sum number. So we will look for factors of 12 that add to give us a negative 8. Because we need to multiply to get a positive and add to get a negative, both factors will need to be negatives. So negative 1 times negative 12 give us the product that we need, but when we add them, it is not the sum. Continue to look at each factor of 12 to see if it's the sum you need of negative 8. You should find that negative 2 and negative 6 work. Use those two terms to change your original problem, which was x squared minus 8x plus 12. Change that original problem to 4 terms. Negative 2 and negative 6 will replace the negative 8. Of course, include your variables to keep them as x terms. So our 4 terms is x squared minus 2x minus 6x plus 12. Group the first 2 and the last 2 terms to factor by grouping. The first group have an x in common, so factor it out to the front and your leftovers will be x minus 2. The second group, because it starts with a negative, you will need to factor out a negative. They have a 6 in common, so factor out their GCF of a negative 6. The leftovers will need to be x minus 2. You will need a minus sign here because remember, you already factored out a negative, and negative times negative will get you back to that positive 12. Now make your 2 sets of parentheses for your factors. You get x minus 2 matching, so they make 1 parentheses. And then GCFs that you factor out, the x minus 6, make 1 parentheses. We'll now use the zero product property. Because all of this is set equal to 0, that means one of the factor equals 0 or the other factor could equal 0. Using that zero product property, we set each factor equal to 0 and solve. So for the first equation, we will add 2 to both sides. And we find that x equals 2. For the second equation, we will add 6 to both sides, and we find that x equals 6. Writing our solution in set notation, they go least to greatest, so x is 2, 6.